Hey guys, welcome to MacReddit. Today, I have compiled some of the most interesting Reddit stories for you. Let's dive into them without wasting any time. My 31-year-old female in-laws have 3 farmhouses on Lake Anna, and when I married my husband, 33-year-old male, they gifted one of the farmhouses to us. We often go there for weekends and holidays. Sometimes, my siblings and parents also go there for holidays, particularly when we have planned to go somewhere else. My sister Emma, 36-year-old female, is the one who likes living on the farmhouse the most. 2 years ago, she requested my husband and me that she wanted to live at the farmhouse full-time, because her workplace is nearer to the farmhouse than her home. My boyfriend and I are, or you can say were, on good terms with my parents and siblings, so we allowed her to live there. As my sister lived full-time on the farmhouse, I have some of my pets there. One of them was my Irish setter puppy, whom I love the most. 6 months ago, my sister entered a relationship with a man named James, 41-year-old male. He has 3 children from his late wife, all of whom are over 10. My sister told me that, like me, her boyfriend is fond of pets and has pigs and dogs. I had seen his dogs, but not his pigs, because they were at his brother's house when we visited him, after my sister announced her relationship with him. After about 4 months of their relationship, my sister's boyfriend also moved to our farmhouse, with our permission, of course. At that time, my boyfriend and I were on a 15-day trip to Europe. My sister's boyfriend moved in along with his children and pets, including pigs and dogs. My sister's boyfriend has 4 pigs and 2 dogs, Frankie and Chase, with the latter being very dangerous. My sister and her boyfriend kept their pets in the backyard of the house. I had no problem with it because my sister had always been a responsible person, and I was expecting the same from her boyfriend. However, he proved me wrong when I visited the farmhouse after my return from the trip. When I visited the farm, my sister told me that her boyfriend's pit bull, Chase, had killed my Irish setter puppy. I was taken aback by this ominous news. I asked her why she didn't take care of my puppy, but my sister had no answer. I was very furious, but I controlled my anger. When I visited the backyard, I saw that the pigs of my sister's boyfriend had ruined the backyard. It seemed that their pigs were not domestic, but wild. It was very disappointing for me, but I controlled my anger again. However, when I entered the home, my head was baffled by the sticky smell coming from inside, and the house was a pigsty. It smelled like rotting food. There was a mountain of dirty dishes in the sink. The floor was sticky, and there were drawings on the walls. Then, we got to the living room, where my sister's boyfriend was drinking a beer in a rocking chair. I immediately snatched the beer from his hand and said, "What was going on at my home? Why did your dog kill my puppy, and what about the backyard?" He acted surprised after seeing us at the farmhouse. While yelling, I told him that it was our house, not his home, and that he must be ashamed of what he and his children had been doing for the last 15 days. He said that he was not solely responsible for all this. I made it clear that my sister has been living at our farmhouse for years, and she never made such a mess anytime, so he was responsible for all this. And I told him that he and his sticky kids had just 1 hour to pack up and leave before I called the cops. My sister had been silent so far, but when I asked her boyfriend to pack and leave, she intervened and said that why I was doing all this, and that they would make everything the way they were before, and that I was insulting her boyfriend. I told her that her boyfriend deserved more than this. I was just kicking him out of our house, and that she must be thankful that I was not calling the cops. My sister tried to argue with me, but I told her that if she had an issue with my decision, she should also leave the house, and that I was not going to bear her boyfriend anymore. My sister said that if her boyfriend was leaving, she was also leaving, and she left. That night, I received a call from my mom asking why I kicked my sister out. I explained that I had actually kicked out her boyfriend, and she followed. My mom advised me to be more accepting of new family members, and understand that not everyone has the same living style as me. I countered by saying that his living style was not just different but dirty and unacceptable. And I also mentioned the damage his wild pigs had caused to our farmhouse's backyard, and that his pit bull has killed my puppy, which was completely unacceptable. Instead of being shocked, my mom informed me that my sister would not talk to me, and I should think of it not her puppy. I said that I didn't care if she wouldn't talk to me, and then hung up the call. I am surprised by my mom's behavior. It is disgusting. And what's even more unacceptable is that my mom and sister still think I am in the wrong for kicking my sister's boyfriend out. So, am the AH? OP is not an AH, and all of her concerns are 100% justified. She did a favor to her sister and her boyfriend by letting them live at their farmhouse full-time and for free. But instead of being grateful, her sister and her boyfriend ruined OP's farmhouse and let their pit bull kill OP's puppy. I would give 0 out of 5 to OP and 4.5 out of 5 to her sister's boyfriend. OP's sister is also in the wrong because she didn't stop her boyfriend from doing all this, perhaps because she is submissive to her boyfriend. So she also deserves 3 out of 5 on the AH scale. OP's mom siding with her daughter Emma is also wrong. She also deserves 2 out of 5. Let's now move on to another Am I the AH post, where OP's sister-in-law stole the name she had chosen for her daughter, which made OP very angry, and she cut all ties with her sister-in-law. If you're ready for some spicy family drama, let's dive into it. I, 32-year-old female, and my husband are expecting our first child, a daughter, after 5 years of our marriage. I chose the name for my daughter the day I learned about my pregnancy. The name was Lenny. My husband's sister was also pregnant with a daughter, and she had also chosen a name for her daughter, which was Emma. All our family members knew that we both had chosen names for our daughters. I was particularly excited about my daughter and her name, because I was expecting it after 5 years of our marriage. My sister-in-law gave birth to her daughter a week ago. Like everyone else, I was happy for her and her daughter, though the name of her daughter was an open secret. After some days of her birth, my sister-in-law formally announced her daughter's name, which was Lenny. I was surprised by her announcement because I had chosen this name for my daughter, and my sister-in-law and all other family members knew this very well. I got very angry and asked her why she stole my daughter's name. She said that it is her choice and that I didn't have any patent for any name. I know nobody owns a name, and I also know that in some families it is very common for relatives to have the same first name, but I personally don't like it. I told this to her and requested her to change her baby's name, but she was not ready for it. I asked if she was going for it, why she didn't talk to me about it. She said, "It is my choice." My husband and other family members also requested her to change her baby's name, since I had chosen this name for my baby, but she stood her ground. Her behavior towards me and her "it is my choice" pissed me off, and I got offended and confronted her. My husband didn't want me to fight with her sister, so he took me to our home and calmed me down. In the evening, I brought up the topic again, and my husband said that I should forget all that happened and that we would find another unique name for our daughter. I told my husband that I want the same name for my baby, and that if his sister didn't change her daughter's name, I would cut all ties with her. My husband tried to calm me down and said that I was being emotional and that we should look for an alternative name. I might be emotional, but I am 100% sure that what my sister-in-law did is wrong. Now, I want to ask you, AITAH, for cutting all ties with my sister-in-law? If yes, what should I do then? OP is not an AH for demanding her sister-in-law to change her baby's name, but cutting all ties with her would be too much. So, I would give OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale and would advise to take any decision after 24 hours. However, OP's sister-in-law is an AH for stealing OP's daughter's name, but honestly speaking, it is not a crime, and everyone steals. So I would give OP's sister-in-law 1.5 out of 5 scores on the AH scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to r/ProRevenge, where OP's father takes perfect revenge on a former tenant who was not paying rent and stole OP's father's furniture and other belongings while leaving the property. A tenant who was not paying rent and stole furniture from my father's home, my father took revenge by jeopardizing his promotion and putting his job in danger. My father, a 53-year-old male, owns 3 houses that he rents out, and the rent is one of his main sources of income. In one of his houses, an old man named Philip, around 60 years old, used to live with his family, and his son, William, William, 32-year-old male, was an accountant in a reputable company. My father knew where Philip's son was working, but Philip and his son were unaware that my father knew about their workplace. The tenants had been trustworthy overall, and my father didn't have any problems with them. However, one month, they didn't pay the rent. When my father contacted them for the rent, the old man told my father that they were under financial strain and would pay the next month. My dad showed some leniency and gave them another month to pay what was owed. However, they didn't pay the rent the following month. Now, my father was frustrated because they owed rent for 2 months. When my father asked for rent, they started making excuses and beating around the bush. My frustrated father finally offered them a deal. Leave the house ASAP by paying half the money they owed or pay the full amount. Otherwise, he would involve the cops. In response, the tenants said that they would leave the house in a clean state and they would leave all of their electrical appliances, oven, fridge, and a smart TV, and all furniture for my father. To my father, it seemed like a fair deal, so he agreed. However, when my father visited the home, there were no appliances and no furniture in the home. Not only this, they also messed up the home, almost ruining it, and stole everything that belonged to my father. It included some furniture and large storage boxes. My father contacted them and asked them for full rent. They again promised that they would pay the full rent after weeks. My father agreed again, but when he tried to contact them again, my father found his phone number blocked. My father was annoyed by their actions, so he decided to take revenge. He knew where his former tenant's son was working, so he went to his workplace to confront him. However, he was informed that the tenant's son, William, had been promoted and was to join the company's new branch, and that he was on holiday at that time. My father then told the authorities the whole story of how William and his father had betrayed him. The company's authorities were shocked by this revelation and assured my father that they would take strict action against them and that my father would get all his money back. The next day, my father received his full payment, and after the transaction, he received an angry call from William. William was yelling, saying that because of my father, his promotion was stopped and he was asked to pay the rent. Otherwise, he would be fired from his job. My father told us that while laughing at William, he said, "You deserve more than this. Be grateful for my mercy." When I asked my father why he didn't forgive his tenant and why he sought revenge, he explained to me that it was never about the money. Rather, it was because this guy and his son were trying to take advantage of him. OP's father took a really perfect revenge. Tenant and his son would never try the same stuff with anyone else. Such people are very common in society who act to be trustworthy, but they are not in reality. OP's father did a great job. I would give OP's father 4 out of 5 on the revenge scale. Let's now move to r/relationship advice, where OP doubts his girlfriend is a gold digger and is unsure whether to continue with her or break up with her. I, 29-year-old male, have been with my girlfriend Amelia, 28-year-old female, for around 6 years and have been living together for 2 years. Over these 2 years, my girlfriend has borrowed around $15,000 from me, but has not returned a penny. I am not sure why she is not returning my money, despite the fact that she earns more than me. Background: I first met my girlfriend around 10 years ago in high school. I liked her, but at the time, I wasn't emotionally ready to be in a relationship, so I could not express my feelings for her. After high school, we lost touch, but we coincidentally reconnected around 7 years ago at a job. She joined the company as an intern and was placed under me. Since we already knew each other, we soon became good friends. We remained friends for 6 months, and then I proposed to her, which she accepted immediately. I felt lucky to have her in my life. Throughout our relationship, we always respected each other, or I think so, and never had a fight. We handle our disagreements with maturity, and we never indulge in fights. 2 years ago, my girlfriend lost her job due to downsizing, but I didn't. So, she found another job with a lower salary than her previous one. She seemed a little depressed, so I suggested that we should start living together to reduce her expenses. She agreed and moved in with me. My problem: though we contribute equally to household expenses, my girlfriend has been borrowing money from me over the last 2 years. The first time she asked me for money was when she lost her job. It was obvious she was out of funds and needed help, so I lent her $2,000. Apart from that, I covered all the bills until she got a job, which lasted for 2 months. I considered covering these bills as help, so I'm not counting that money. After 2 months, she asked me for money again, and I couldn't say no, so I gave her more money. This time, she borrowed from me to send it to her mother, who needed help. Since then, she has been borrowing from me for one thing or another. In total, she has borrowed around $15,000, which is a significant amount. However, I have been unable to ask for my money back. For the last year, Her monthly income has been higher than mine, yet she still asks for money. Now I doubt she is using me for money, and that she is a gold digger playing a long game. However, I am unable to discuss all this with her. I fear it might hurt our relationship. If I told her I doubt she is a gold digger, she might get offended, which is what I don't want. Now, I need your advice on, do you think my girlfriend is a gold digger and is playing a long game to extract money from me? And if she is a gold digger, what should I do? How should I discuss this with her? I am totally confused and need serious advice. OP seems to be a confused individual. I think OP's girlfriend has been treating him like a lifetime free ATM machine. First, she used OP as a corporate ladder, and when she lost her job, she made OP cover her bills, for which, technically, OP was not responsible. Then, when she realized that OP could not say no to her, she started asking for money. Now, even though she is earning more than OP, she is still asking for money. I would suggest that OP say no if she asks for money next time, and remind her of the money she has already borrowed over the last 2 years. If she returns the money she borrowed, all is okay. Otherwise, she is a gold digger, and it would be better for OP to part ways. What do the Mac Reddit fans think, whether OP's girlfriend is a gold digger or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I the A-Hole, where OP cut all ties with her brother's wife because she screamed at OP's 7-year-old son when he started eating wedding cake before it was cut. I, 32-year-old female, have a younger brother named Michael, 28-year-old male. Last week, he married his longtime girlfriend, Carol, 27-year-old female. During the wedding planning, my brother and his girlfriend decided not to have children at their wedding. They wanted to have a carefree celebration without any concerns about kids causing disruptions. When they informed us of their decision, I told them that it was not a good idea to exclude kids from the ceremony because they are also family and deserve to be included. I also mentioned that at our wedding, kids were allowed, and we had a wonderful ceremony. Eventually, they agreed to invite kids to their wedding. I attended the wedding with my husband, 33M, and our son Liam, 7M. The ceremony was beautiful, and everything was going smoothly until my brother and his wife cut the cake. After dinner, the couple had their first dance, followed by everyone joining them on the dance floor. The kids were running around and playing with each other in a safe environment. Since I knew most of the guests, I felt comfortable letting my son play with the other kids, while my husband and I enjoyed dancing. After some time, the couple went to cut the cake. My husband and I were a little slow getting there, so there was a crowd blocking our view. We were trying to reach the front when I heard the bride screaming my son's name. My husband and I pushed forward to see what was wrong. I saw my son with frosting around his mouth and on his fingers. The cake had a small chunk taken out of it. I tried to apologize, but the bride turned around and yelled, "This is your fault. Your son ruined our cake. He is only here because you told me it would be worth it to include the kids." I yelled back, telling her that it was just an accident and the rest of the cake was still edible. Before I could say anything, she asked us to leave the wedding, or else she would call security. My son got so afraid that he was unable to speak out and started crying. I didn't want to create a bigger scene, so I left the ceremony with my husband and kids. My brother didn't say a word and saw us leaving his wedding. When we reached our car, my mom approached us and asked us not to leave. I told my mom that when the host had kicked us out, why should we beg to stay? And then we left. The next day, my brother reached out to me and apologized for his wife's reaction. However, he also said that I needed to apologize to his wife because of what our son did. I was taken aback when my brother demanded that I apologize. I told my brother that my son is just a kid, and if he made a mistake, his wife should not have reacted so violently and should not have humiliated us in front of all the guests. I told my brother that I was very disappointed and felt deeply humiliated when he didn't speak a word for me or his nephew. Now, I was surprised by how he was demanding an apology. I told him that I would cut all ties with him if he didn't make his wife apologize to me and my husband. Now, my mom is calling me and asking that we should sort things out between us, and cutting ties is not a solution. I told my mom that it is better to be cut off than to be humiliated. OP is not the AH. OP's demand that his brother and his wife should apologize to her is 100% justifiable, because kicking someone out of a wedding ceremony just because their son took out a small chunk of cake before cutting is humiliating and unreasonable. So, I would give OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. As for the OP's brother and sister-in-law, they deserve 5 out of 5 scores on the AH scale for being so dramatic and petty. Let's now move on to another AmItheAsshole scenario, where OP caught her girlfriend's flirting chat with a boy, and now she is not sure what to do. My girlfriend, Emily, 26-year-old female, and I, 36-year-old male, have been in a relationship for 4 years. We were set to get engaged 2 months ago. However, 2 months ago, I found my girlfriend flirting in a chat with a boy, Daniel, 25-year-old male, and now I am confused about what to do. Background. 2 months ago, I was supposed to go on a 1-week business trip. The day I was leaving, my girlfriend told me that she was going out with her friends to have dinner. I thought it was okay because she would enjoy her friends' company. I left for the trip and returned home the next week. When I reached home, I found my girlfriend in a very cold mood, one in which I had never seen her before. When I asked her what had happened, she confronted me, saying she was feeling lonely and that I was not there for her. I could not understand why she was complaining when she already knew that I would not be there for a week. Another important thing is that we don't have as much physical intimacy as we used to when we first started our relationship. In the beginning of our relationship, we used to get physical at least 3 to 4 times a week. However, these days, it has reduced to 3 to 4 times a month. I don't have any problem with it, and my girlfriend has also not said anything about it, and I think she also considers this normal. However, the complaints of my girlfriend were very strange and filled me with curiosity. After that week, the communication between us also reduced drastically, and everything felt cold. The next weekend, I went through her Apple Watch when she wasn't home. Lo and behold, a conversation with an unsaved number from that weekend. Names were exchanged, and they exchanged pleasantries like, "It was really nice meeting you," on her part, along with flirty emojis. He seemed very eager and insistent on meeting up, expressing his desire to see her and offering to come to her location. Despite his advances, she consistently declined. These exchanges took place late at night, between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., with conversations about his whereabouts and living situation. The following night, she told him that she had a boyfriend, after which the boy promptly blocked my girlfriend. The next day, she sent her a message, "Hey," and found her number blocked. When she returned home, I confronted her. I told her that I wanted to break up with her and that I was kicking her out of my home. I was so angry because I felt so disrespected and betrayed. She apologized for chatting with that boy. She said that she was feeling lonely. That is why she felt attraction to him, and sworn up that nothing physical happened between them. After all her apologies and explanations, I finally forgave her, and we also communicated exactly what I needed from her and what she needed from me in order to continue together. But I can't seem to shake the feeling that something more happened that night with him. I feel like if they had kissed, I would not have forgiven her, and for some reason, I really feel like they did. After she apologized and explained herself, I forgave her. We had a conversation about our needs and expectations to move forward. However, I can't shake the suspicion that something more happened between her and him that night. If they had kissed, I don't think I could have forgiven her. I have a strong feeling that they did. Now, I am confused what to do. Should I proceed with our engagement, or brought all this up again and part my ways? OP's girlfriend is clearly craving attention and physical intimacy, which OP has not been providing. I don't know the reason for this. OP needs to be attentive to his partner's needs. If OP thinks 3 to 4 times a month is okay, it does not mean his girlfriend should also be satisfied with it. OP must have communicated with his partner before making such an assumption. I don't say what OP's girlfriend did is justified, but I want to say that if OP had communicated with his girlfriend, he might not be seeing this situation. Regarding the engagement, if OP has forgiven his girlfriend for her actions in the past, it's important to move forward and focus on the present. However, if there are lingering doubts or concerns about her loyalty, it's crucial for OP to address these issues with his girlfriend and work towards resolving them. Effective communication is essential in any relationship to ensure mutual understanding and trust. Welcome to Am I the A-hole, where OP marries an older, infertile lady for monetary gains. And now that lady is restricting OP from helping his sister. I have two siblings, one brother, Henry, 28M, and a sister, Emma, 19F. We belong to a dysfunctional household. My father was a drug addict, but my mother, a sober lady, and she did her best for our welfare. Unfortunately, she passed away before she could help us navigate all the difficulties. At that time, my brother was 17, so after just 1 year of her death, he moved out. My sister and I were younger, 10 and 12 respectively, so we had to live with our druggy father. After moving out, my brother continued his studies and started working a part-time job to cover his expenses. For some time, he was in contact with us and used to visit home few and far between, but after completing his graduation, he moved to another state and stopped contacting us gradually. He is a software engineer and is doing very well, living an enviable life. When our brother moved out, we were still living with our father, and it was nothing less than a living hell. Our father was not a bad person, but he was a victim of drugs. So, whenever he was in his senses, he would try to help us, but he never succeeded and always messed up things. After 3 years of our mother's passing, our father also died in a car accident. After his death, we were taken in by our Uncle James. His house was no different from ours, especially for us. Though our uncle had taken us in, no one was there to take care of us. My uncle and his wife were busy with their own children. When I turned 18, I moved out, and after 3 months, my sister ran away from our uncle's home. After moving out, I decided to discontinue my studies and started working as a bar waiter. One day, I met a lady named Janie, 30-year-old girl. She had recently gone through a divorce because she was infertile and had no chances of conceiving in the future. After 2 or 3 meetings, she invited me for dinner at her home. After the dinner, she expressed her desire to marry me and promised me a large portion of the wealth she had inherited from her parents. I was a little confused, but I asked her for some time to make a decision. I knew she could never become a mother, but the hope that this marriage could help me escape the poverty I had been in all my life compelled me to seriously consider her proposal. After thinking about the offer for a few days, I accepted it, and we got married in a private ceremony, attended only by some of our friends. You might call me a gold digger, but I don't see things this way, because I also did a favor to her by marrying her, despite knowing that she could not conceive. After our marriage, my wife transferred 2 of her rental apartments to my name, and she also gave me $200,000 USD. All this was considered to be exclusively mine, and I was also supposed to manage all her rental apartments, for which I was given a handsome amount as salary. Now it has been 1.5 years since our marriage. My sister Emma, after running away from our uncle's home, started living with her boyfriend Owen, 19-year-old male. He was involved in drugs, and because of my sister's company with him, she also started abusing drugs. After living together for around 6 months, my sister and her boyfriend learned that she was pregnant. Her boyfriend was not ready for a child, so he demanded an abortion, but my sister was not going for it. Due to this, they finally broke up. My sister was out of contact with me, but she knew about the whereabouts of our older brother, so she went to our brother and asked for help, but he refused, saying he could not let a druggie move in with him. However, he contacted me and told me that our sister was at his home, requesting to move in, and that he could not help her because it would jeopardize his children's welfare. I talked to my sister and asked her to come to my home, promising that I would let her move in. One of the apartments my wife had given to me was not rented out, so I asked my sister to move into that apartment. I told her that she didn't need to pay rent until she gave birth to her baby and found a stable job. She was a drug addict, but she wanted to get clean and didn't have any support. I promised to support her both financially and emotionally. I also gave her some cash so that she could live comfortably. When my wife learned about it, she confronted me and asked why I let a druggie into our apartment and why I was wasting our money on her. I was surprised to hear this from my wife. I had never seen her in such a mood and had never heard her talking this way. I told her that my sister needed help, and I was doing it. I explained that I had not given the apartment for good. Instead, I had given it to her only until she finds a stable job. My wife said that she knew these druggies very well, and that they are always asking for help, using these excuses to live off others' money. She then asked me to kick my sister out of the apartment. I was upset by this demand from my wife. I told her that the apartment in which my sister was living was not hers or ours, but mine, exclusively mine, and it is up to me whether I rent it out or give it for free to someone. My wife said that if I didn't kick my sister out of that apartment in a week, I would lose my job, and that she might divorce me. Now I am totally confused and don't know what to do. I want to ask whether I am wrong for letting my sister live in my apartment without discussing it with my wife. Another question is, what should I do now? Should I ask my sister to leave the apartment? OP is certainly not an AH for helping his sister, and he does not need his wife's permission to give that apartment to his sister for free because they are now his property. However, the way OP married for wealth is kind of weird, and now he is a slave to his wife. He cannot even make a decision on his own. If I were OP, I would have chosen freedom instead of money plus slavery, and I would earn my own money. So I would give OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale for helping his sister without his wife's permission, but I would give him 1.5 out of 5 for his life choices. As for OP's wife, I would give her 4 out of 5 for treating OP as a commodity and restricting him from helping his sister. Now, let's move to another Am I A-hole, where OP's sister-in-law demands OP to apologize because she didn't congratulate her SIL on her son's birth. OP claims that she didn't congratulate her SIL because she called her infertile and stole the name she had chosen for her future baby boy. I, 32-year-old female, have been married to my husband for 7 years. We have been struggling with infertility for the same period. While we have come to terms with the possibility that we may never have a child together, it is still a difficult reality to accept. Despite our challenges, we hold on to hope that we will one day have a child of our own. We have even chosen a name for our future baby, Mateo, which we have shared with our siblings and my husband's siblings. My sister-in-law has 2 daughters, and a week ago, she gave birth to a baby boy. At that time, I was at the hospital with other family member waiting for the birth. Once he was born, we were called in to meet my nephew, and my sister-in-law told us they had chosen the name Mateo for him. I was taken aback hearing this, as I was not expecting this from my sister-in-law, because she knew very well that her brother and I had been struggling with infertility, and all we had was that name. She appeared delighted with her son, and I couldn't bear to see that boy, so I left without congratulating my sister-in-law. When I got home, I cried a lot, and then called my husband to tell him what his sister had done. He reassured me and told me not to worry about it. The following week, after returning home, my sister-in-law called me and asked why I had left without congratulating her. I told her she knew the reason why I left without offering my congratulations. She feigned ignorance and asked, was it because of the name of my son? She then explained that she had chosen that name for her baby because she believed I wouldn't have a chance to use it in the future, and she didn't want such a beautiful name to go to waste. I expressed my disappointment, telling her she should not have chosen that name as it was very dear to me and my husband. She responded by saying that if we didn't have children, what use would the name be? I decided not to argue with her as it would be pointless, so I ended the call. When my husband returned home, we went to my husband's parents' home and told my mother-in-law that it was not fair on my sister-in-law's part to give the name we had chosen for our baby to her son. Instead of supporting us, my mother-in-law said that it was selfish of me to not congratulate my sister-in-law on her new baby and leaving the hospital this way, so I should apologize to her. I was pissed off by this demand of my mother-in-law, but I didn't want to argue with anyone anymore, so my husband and I left his parents' home. Yesterday, I got a message from my sister-in-law saying I was creating scenes and playing one family member with other, and that I should apologize for all this, otherwise she would cut ties with me. I hung up the call saying, go and cut, I don't care, and I am not going to apologize for the mistake I have not made. So, am I the jerk here? OP is not an AH, but she is too much sensitive and emotional. Welcome to Am I the AH, where OP demands that his parents abort their 7th child and tells them that he cannot bear more burden because he has been helping raise their children. My parents have 6 kids with a gap of just 2.5 years, and I, 22, am the oldest one. My mother is a food preparation worker, and my father is a fast food cook, and they work at the same cafe. They don't have high incomes, and there is not much space in our home, so we are crammed into 3 rooms. The age gap between us siblings is not enough, so I had to start working at the age of 14 to help my parents feed my siblings and to cover my school expenses. I also supported my siblings financially. It was a heavy burden on me, so I ran away from home, but my parents brought me back, and they promised that they would not have another child, and requested me to help them raise the ones they already had. After high school, I wanted to go to college, but we could never afford it. So, after high school, I started working a full-time job as a chef. I could move out and look after only myself, but I didn't want to leave my parents in difficulty, so I decided to help them. However, I don't live with my parents. Rather, I live with my girlfriend near my parents' home. I work at a reputable restaurant and earn more than the combined salaries of my parents, so I can help my parents easily. Last week, my parents called me and asked me to visit them. When I visited, they gathered all of us siblings and told us that they are expecting another baby. My mom is 14 weeks pregnant. My siblings were mostly surprised, but I just sighed and thought, not again. I felt a tear escape, which was unusual for me, as I'm not one to cry easily. My parents were furious with me and scolded me for my attitude. I couldn't help but point out that their reckless behavior had led to this situation, breaking their promise and making our lives even more difficult. They urged me to stop blaming them and reminded me that accidents happen. They reassured me that they would never consider abortion, even if it were an option. They encouraged me to focus on finding solutions rather than dwelling on the negative. I told my parents that abortion is the only option if they want me to continue helping them, and that if they didn't consider this option, I would part ways with them, stop helping them financially, and might also consider moving away from them. My father got angry and said that they could feed their children, and I was not required to tell them what to do with their children. I told my father that I had been sacrificing for them. I sacrificed my studies for them, and now I am spending half of my salary on their children. My father said that I was spending on my siblings, and it was not a big deal. I made it clear to my father that my siblings are not my responsibility, and if they want my help in the future, they must go for abortion, and that there is no other option. I told them that these are my last words, and then I left. I understand that some people believe that having a loving family, no matter large, is more important than money, and that may be true for them. However, for me, a large family feels like a heavy burden rather than a blessing. It is because I am the only one to support my siblings. So, it weighs on me as a responsibility and a source of worry. I am always worried about my parents' bills and our own apartment. For this reason, I don't want my parents to have another child. So, am I the AH for wanting my parents to abort their child? OP is not an AH, rather his parents are big AH. OP is not responsible for raising his siblings, and if he is helping his parents, they must be grateful for it, and they should not take him for granted. It is selfish of OP's parents to be a burden on their son. OP's parents are the best example of entitled parents. So, I would give OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale, and would rate his parents as 4.5 out of 5. Let's now move on to another Am I the AH? Where an entitled mom is demanding her daughter from her first husband to take in his mentally challenged daughter from his second husband so that she could marry for the 3rd time. My 34-year-old female's father died in a car accident around 20 years ago. At that time, I was only child of my parents at home, and all my siblings had moved out. About a year after my father's passing, my mother married a man named James, now deceased. Since I was still a minor, I moved in with my stepdad and my mom. However, after moving in with my stepdad, I noticed that my mom stopped caring about me and was always busy with her new husband. This hurt me a lot, and I tried to get my mom's attention, but she never seemed to care. My stepdad was also indifferent towards me and did not consider me his daughter, and never cared about it. I ran away from home to get my mom's attention, but it didn't make any difference. My mom brought me back, but her indifference continued towards me. So, I finally made the decision that I would not crave my mom's attention. Since then, I haven't done anything to attract my mom's attention, and instead focused on my own development and studies. After reaching the legal age, I moved out and started a part-time job along with my college studies. After college, I joined a reputable university for my master's in IT. Now, I am working as an IT engineer in a multinational company. During this period, my mother never cared much about having a warm relationship with me, though I was in contact with her and her husband. I was earning a handsome monthly salary, but she didn't care about it because her husband, who was a businessman, was doing very well for himself and his family. However, 5 years ago, their luck took a turn for the worse. Her husband's company started to sink, and eventually he had to close it down. This closure led him to severe depression, which was devastating for my mom as well. Another challenge my stepdad faced was that he had only one daughter, Olivia, 13-year-old female, who was also mentally challenged. My mom and stepdad were very anxious about all this, and their savings were also dwindling day by day. After around a year of the closure of his company, my stepdad died in a car accident. It was a huge blow to my mom. I understood this, and I rallied around my mom and shouldered her in that difficult time. I helped her both financially and emotionally, forgetting her indifference to me during my teens. In the following year, my mom's life returned to normal. However, 15 days ago, my mom, now 57, told me that she had decided to get married again. This revelation was surprising for me, but a real shock came when my mom asked me to take in my stepsister Olivia because the man she was marrying was not ready to take her in. Though I was surprised by my mom's decision to get married for the third time, I don't have any problem with it. My issue is that I am not responsible for her daughter, and I don't have the responsibility to take care of her. Another issue is that I don't want my stepsister to face the same fate I did when my mom remarried after my father's death. Considering all these factors, I told my mom that I was not going to take in my stepsister, and that she should consider taking her in. If her would-be husband was not ready for it, she should reconsider her decision. I told her that she should prioritize her daughter's welfare over marrying that man, and also suggested her to marry someone else who would take her daughter in after the marriage. My mom said that I was being an for not helping my mother. I told her that I was not supposed to, and her expectations were very high and unreasonable. Now, my mom is angry with me. So, am I the here? OP is not the here, and she is 100% justified in suggesting that his mom not marry a man who is not ready to take in her mentally challenged daughter. If OP's mom is insistent on marrying that man at any rate, she should herself arrange something for her daughter and not demand that OP take on the responsibility. Instead of criticizing her daughter, she should be thankful to OP, because she was the one who stood with her in her difficult time, despite the fact that she had been indifferent to OP for all her life. So, I would rate OP 0 out of 5 on the scale and would give his mom 4 out of 5. What do Mac Reddit fans think? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I the A-hole? Where OP's sister belittles her job by saying that it is just a hobby and suggests her to do a real job. At her wedding, my sister Emma, a 33-year-old female, referred to my YouTube career as a hobby, which upset me, leading me to leave the ceremony early. I am totally upset over why my family does not take my career seriously and why they expect me to follow them on the traditional career path. Background: I, 27-year-old female, have always been different from my other family members, particularly my siblings. All my siblings are in traditional careers. My older brother James works for an NGO, and my sister Emma is a doctor, a cardiologist. I am happy for them because they are doing very well for themselves. However, I have always been laid back and creative. I am an artist, and I make paintings, wooden carvings, etc. Initially, I was working as an arts teacher in a school, but 2 months ago, I started a YouTube channel and began uploading videos of me painting and carving. I also sell my paintings and carved wooden items online. I have monetized my YouTube channel, and I am also earning from selling my items. I am hopeful that in the next year, I will be generating a substantial revenue from my work, but my family, especially my sister Emma, has always been dismissive of my career choice. They don't understand why I didn't go the traditional route like she did. Fast forward to the wedding day. The ceremony was beautiful, and I was genuinely happy for her. I played a significant role in the planning process, and I gave her an expensive gift. I wanted to support her as much as I could because, despite our differences, she is my sister, and I care about her deeply. At the reception, I had a moment with my sister and congratulated her. I told her that the ceremony was amazing. She said it would have been impossible without me and other family members, and added, "Thanks for being here. I thought you would be too busy with your hobby." I asked her which hobby she was talking about. She replied, "That painting and YouTubing." I was taken aback because I didn't expect her to call my career a hobby. I chuckled and replied, "It's not just a hobby, it's my job, and it pays off." She shrugged and said, "Well, it's not a real job, but I'm glad you're enjoying it." I was really upset, but I didn't want to spoil the wedding by arguing with my sister, so I just walked away, and later on, I left the ceremony silently, without saying goodbye to her or anyone. I was very disappointed because my sister belittles my career for which I have been struggling for years. After 2 hours of leaving, I received a call from my mom asking where I was. I told her that I was at home. She then asked me why I wasn't at the wedding, and mentioned that everyone was inquiring about me. I explained to my mom that I wasn't feeling well, so I decided to leave. She insisted that I needed to be at the wedding no matter what. When she continued to press me, I expressed that I didn't want to be in a place where I was treated as inferior, and where my career was belittled as a mere hobby. My mom urged me to be direct and tell her what the issue was, so I revealed what my sister had said about me. My mom said that it was a big deal, and such things often happen among siblings, and asked me to come to the wedding. I told her that I would not come until my sister apologized for what she said. My mom said that I was being unreasonable, which pissed me off, and I cut her call and turned my phone off. My sister hasn't spoken to me since. My father didn't take any side, but he says that I overreacted. My mom is furious with me for ruining the reception by leaving early, and she says I am an AH for it. So, am I the AH? OP is not the AH. Rather, her sister is a big a-hole for not respecting OP's career choices and always trying to make her feel inferior. YouTubing is not just a hobby, it is a full-fledged business that can make OP a millionaire. I think OP's sister is jealous of her, which is why she is demotivating her. Otherwise, everyone knows the potential of earning from YouTube. So, I would rate OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale and OP's sister 3.5 out of 5. OP's mom is also an AH for ignoring OP's genuine concerns. So, I would give her 1 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to another Am I the A-hole? Where OP doubts his wife is cheating on him and asks for a divorce. I, 33-year-old male, have been married to my wife, Emily, 29-year-old female, for 2 years, but we don't have any children together, and I don't have any children at all. However, my wife has a son from her previous relationship. 2 months ago, my wife and her best friend, Mary, 27-year-old female, went on a 1-week trip to Manhattan. I had no problem with it, because going on trips with friends is absolutely normal. However, on the 4th day of my wife's trip, I received a call from a friend who informed me that he had met my wife, her friend, and a man named Daniel. He told me that my wife introduced Daniel as her best friend's boyfriend, but he had doubts because my wife seemed a little bit confused while introducing Daniel to him. When my wife returned home, I asked her if her best friend was married. She replied by asking if I didn't know she was married and questioned why I was asking. I told her about the call I got from my friend. My wife explained that her best friend was not happy in her marriage, so she had been in a relationship with a man named Daniel. She went to meet him and my wife accompanied her. My wife told me that she didn't know about this initially, and she only found out about it when they reached Manhattan. I asked her why she was supporting her friend in cheating on her husband. She said that she was not supporting her. She just didn't tell this to her husband. I asked why she didn't tell this to her husband. My wife said that it was not our business, though it was a what the hell kind of thing. I also decided to ignore it, because I don't know her husband and barely know my wife's friend. Fast forward to the last week, my wife told me that she was going on another trip with the same friend. I suggested to her not to go with her because it was not just a trip, but a cheating trip, and she should not support her friend in this. She said that she didn't care whether her friend was cheating on her husband or not. She would go on the trip because her friend was covering all her expenses for the full week. I told her that if it was about the trip expenses, I would pay for her trip to Manhattan and we would go together. When I tried to push, there started an argument between us, which soon escalated into a fight. After fighting with me, she went on the trip with her friend. After she went on the trip, I became convinced that my wife was cheating on me with Daniel. My suspicions were confirmed when she became furious after I offered her a free trip, all expenses paid, for us to go together. So, after she left, I called her and told her that I wanted a divorce because I believed she was cheating on me. She became upset and accused me of being crazy for thinking that. She said she would discuss the matter with me after returning from the trip. Now, I am unsure if I made the right decision by asking for a divorce. So, am I the AH here? Everyone sucks here. OP's wife is either cheating on him or she is going with her friend for money and helping her cheat on her husband. In both cases, she is a jerk. So, I would give her a 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. OP is also an a-hole for concluding things so quickly, so I would give him a 2 out of 5 on the AH scale. OP should discuss things properly with his wife before making any decisions. Let's now move on to another Am I the AH, where OP involves the police to get his daughter back from his sister. This morning, I, 36-year-old male, received a call from my daughter, 15F, asking if she could go to my parents' house for the week with my sister and her cousins. I agreed since I was working and thought it would be nice for her to have some fun before the holidays were over. However, when I got home, I realized she had taken my phone charger. This may seem like a small issue, but I have spent over $100 replacing chargers she has lost or broken in the last 2 months. I was upset and couldn't reach her, so I called my sister and demanded the charger be returned to me before they left. My daughter gave me attitude when she handed me the charger and said I was overreacting just for a charger, which made me angry because it was a blatant disrespect. I told her she couldn't leave because of her attitude, but my sister disagreed and took her anyway, going against my explicit instructions. Feeling desperate, I called the police and explained the situation. They helped me get my daughter back. Now, my family says I am the AH, but I believe my daughter needs to learn respect. As a self-employed person, my phone is essential for my work, and not having a charger is a significant inconvenience. So, am I the AH? OP is not an AH. Instead, OP's daughter is being an AH for justifying OP's daughter disrespecting her father. So, I would give OP 0 out of 5, and I would rate OP's sister 3 out of 5 on the AH scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I the A-hole, where OP announces her pregnancy just 2 days after her nephew's death, leaving OP's sister-in-law devastated. I, 33-year-old female, have been married to my husband, James, 35-year-old male, for 5 years. My mother-in-law and my husband's siblings never liked me and never considered me a part of the family. However, my father-in-law is not like them, and he treats every family member alike. During the last 3 years, I had 2 miscarriages, but I am lucky enough to get pregnant again so soon. Whenever I had a miscarriage, my sister-in-law called me a demon, unlucky, and so on, and said that I could never give a child to the family. This left me devastated, but I didn't say a word to her or to my mother-in-law. During our 3rd pregnancy, my husband and I decided that we would only announce my pregnancy after the 10th week has passed. As my 10th week started, the youngest son of my sister-in-law passed away because of cancer. This left my sister-in-laws devastated. My husband attended the funeral, but I didn't, because we didn't want anyone to see my pregnancy before we officially announce it. For the last 6 months, my husband and I have lived far from our family. When my husband returned from the funeral, the 10th week of our pregnancy had passed, and we were on the safer side, so we decided to announce my pregnancy. We officially announced our pregnancy and shared my pregnancy pictures in the family group, and we also shared them on social media. When my sister-in-law learned about the announcement, she called me and asked why I did announce my pregnancy just 2 days after my nephew's death. I told her that the announcement had nothing to do with the death of her son. She said it was mean of me to rub salt in her wounds. I made it clear that I didn't mean anything like that, and explained that we had already decided on the date of the pregnancy announcement, but she was not ready to listen. I got angry and told her I did the right thing because she had mocked me about my miscarriages and treated me as if I had no feelings. I reminded her that those miscarriages were also the deaths of my children, and she had always made fun of me and the deaths of my children. She said that miscarriage and death are 2 different things, and I must apologize for hurting her. I told her I would never apologize for this because announcing a pregnancy is not a crime. She yelled at me, but I didn't listen and hung up the call. In the evening, my husband and I got angry calls from my in-laws telling us that we were very apathetic for not caring about the death of our nephew and announcing my pregnancy. I tried to tell them that the announcement was not meant to disrespect our late nephew. My mother-in-law also cut all ties with us and asked us not to come to their home. Now, my husband and I are confused and unable to decide whether what we did was wrong or right. So, are we the jerks? And we also need your advice for the future. OP is an AH for not caring about his sister-in-law's feelings. And OP's sister-in-law is also an AH for mocking her in the past and telling her she is unable to give birth. So I would give OP 3 out of 5 on the AH scale and OP's sister-in-law 3.5 out of 5. Welcome to another Am I the A-hole, where OP refuses to cook for his father's stepkids, and when his father insisted, he said that he didn't cook for his stepkids because he hate him. I, 17-year-old male, recently refused to cook for my father's stepkids because I don't like them. When I declined, my stepmom, Nancy, 39-year-old female, called me a jerk for it. My father, James, 45-year-old male, argued with me and blamed my mother for turning me against him. I then told him that I didn't cook for his stepkids because I dislike being at his home with his wife and kids, and "I hate you" slipped out. Since then, my father has not spoken to me. Background: my parents got separated when my mom, Olivia, a 44-year-old female, caught my father, James, cheating on her with my mom's cousin, Nancy. After this incident, fights started between my parents. Our family tried to intervene to salvage their marriage, but their constant conflicts eventually led to their separation. We loved both of our parents, but after our father cheated on our mom, a grudge against him developed in my heart, particularly because of his infidelity. Despite this, I respect him. After my parents separated, my father remarried my mom's cousin Nancy a year and a half ago. Nancy has 2 children from her previous marriage, 7M and 10F, my 2 siblings, 5M and 9F, and I live with our mom, but we visit our dad every other weekend as mandated by the court. I have a passion for cooking and plan to pursue culinary arts after high school. I often cook for my siblings and mom when she is at work, and sometimes even when she is at home. However, I have never cooked at my father's house because I don't enjoy being there with my father and stepmom. Recently, my father discovered my cooking skills and that I prepare meals for my family. He appreciated it and asked me to cook for him. I didn't want to cook, so I told my father that I was busy studying and said I would cook on some other days. This way, I avoided becoming a cook for my father. Last week, my stepmom gave birth to a child with my father. At that time, I was at my mom's house. While they were in the hospital, my father called me and asked me to go to his home and cook for his stepkids. I told my father that I could not go there because that week I was supposed to be with my mother and that I would not cook for his stepkids. My father asked what the problem was for not cooking for them when I know how to cook. I told him that I only cook for my siblings and sometimes for my mom, but I was not going to cook for any random kids. My father argued that his stepkids are also my siblings, but I disagreed, stating that they are not my siblings, and I never considered them as such. The following week, when I visited my father's home, he expressed disappointment in me for not cooking for his stepkids. I explained to him that cooking for his stepkids was not my responsibility. My stepmom also chimed in, calling me a jerk for not cooking for their children and accusing me of discrimination. I told my stepmom that they are her children, and she should arrange for their meals and other things, and should not put her responsibilities on me. Then I left their home and returned to my mom's. When my mom asked why I returned so soon, I told her about the behavior of my father and stepmom and what they were expecting me to do for my father's stepkids. My mom called my father and asked him why he was forcing me to cook for his stepkids. She mentioned that I was just a kid and didn't have such a responsibility. My father responded that he didn't force me, but simply requested me to cook because his wife was in the hospital and there was no one else to look after his kids and cook for them. Then I took the phone from my mother and told my father that I would not visit him anymore. After hearing this, my father got angry and said that cooking was just an excuse and that I was doing all this to avoid going to his house, and he accused my mom of poisoning me against him. I told him that my mom had nothing to do with it, and it was I who didn't want to visit him because I hate it, and I said, "I hate you as well." After hearing this, my father suddenly went silent and then hung up the phone. I don't hate my father, I just didn't want my parents to separate, and I had a bad feeling for my father because he was responsible for their separation. "I hate you" just slipped out, and I didn't mean it. I believe there are multiple parties at fault in this situation. OP's father is somewhat in the wrong for demanding that OP cook for his step-siblings. However, OP is a big AH for escalating the situation by turning a minor argument into a heated one between his parents and expressing hatred towards his father. While OP's father's demands were unreasonable, OP's reaction was also inappropriate. I would rate OP at 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale and his father at 1 out of 5. Additionally, OP's stepmother is also at fault for labeling her stepson as an AH simply because he refused to cook for her children. So, I would rate her 2 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to an r/relationship, where OP's girlfriend demands that he should not reply to his ex-girlfriend's message, and OP considers this as controlling behavior. My girlfriend, Jane, 27-year-old female, and I, 26-year-old male, have been in a long-distance relationship for over 7 months. We visit each other once a month or so. 3 weeks ago, we officially announced our relationship. After the announcement, I posted a picture of myself with my girlfriend on Facebook. A week ago, my ex-girlfriend messaged me with a simple, "Hey, how are you?" I think she messaged me after seeing my picture with my girlfriend. Whatever. I mentioned this to my partner, and although we didn't discuss it much, it was silently implied that I shouldn't reply. I've been catching up on messages that I've left unanswered, and I found one from her. I'm contemplating whether to reply just to be polite, even though it may seem like a weak reason. I value empathy and don't like being ignored, so I'm considering responding to avoid leaving her on read. My girlfriend has trust issues from past relationships, and when I mentioned replying to my ex-girlfriend, she ignored my message. We didn't text for a while, but later on a call, she expressed discomfort with me replying. I have past relationship trauma with being controlled, so I struggle with compromising on this boundary. I don't want to jeopardize our relationship over a simple conversation, but explaining my perspective led to her dismissing my feelings and insisting on her boundaries. I offered to make myself uncomfortable to respect her wishes, but she didn't seem to appreciate it. She mentioned that she didn't want to see the messages, suggesting that I could delete some before showing her. I offered to reply on WhatsApp where messages can be seen being deleted or on Instagram, stating that I won't be talking to her anymore to respect my girlfriend's wishes. However, she feels that this puts the decision on her. We both have strong feelings about this, but she is not willing to compromise. We didn't resolve the issue, and I'm unsure how to proceed. I need Redditors' advice on it. I think there is a trust issue between OP and his girlfriend, and the best solution to this problem seems to be open communication. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.